Hello again everyone, and welcome to my next video. For those of you who study the Daf Yomi or Daily Talmud page, you know that we recently completed Tractate Nedarim. On page 90b, we came across the final Mishna of that tractate, the gist of which I will share with you in today's video. In the Mishnah, it states that initially the sages would say that three types of women are to be considered divorced even against their husband's wishes. Further, they would also receive payment of what is due to them according to the ksuba or marriage contract. The first type is the wife of a kohen who says to her husband, "I have been forcibly defiled by another man." The second type is a woman who declares that her husband is impotent. The third type is a woman who takes a vow, stating that she's recusing herself from having sexual intercourse with any man, including her husband. All of these three types of women would be granted an immediate divorce and kesuba payment. The Mishnah goes on to say that subsequently the sages retracted their words. The reason given for this was because the sages realized that married women were starting to cast their eyes on other men, ruin their relationships with their husbands, receiving the payment of their marriage contract, and then going on to cavort with someone other than her husband. So then the law was modified as follows. A kohen's wife who declares that she was forcibly defiled by another man must bring proof for her words. Otherwise, she is not believed. The woman who declared that her husband is impotent is also not believed. The court should request of her husband to make peace with her, or make a request that he give her a divorce, but he cannot be forced to do so. And the woman who says that she's recusing herself from having sexual intercourse with any man, including her husband, is similarly not believed. Instead, the husband must nullify that aspect of the vow which prevents him from being with her, and then she's permitted to him, but she remains prohibited from all other men due to that same vow, which means that even if he divorces her, she will still be forbidden to all other men. And so, we learn from this Mishnah a very important fact, that the sages reversed course and stopped believing women's claims because too many of them were found to be not credible. You see, these women were trying to pull the wool over the rabbis' eyes. They were trying to lie to them by making false claims in order that they should force their husbands to give them a divorce while also collecting the ksuba payments. And therefore, the Mishna rabbis came along and laid down the law. They declared that we no longer believe these women and that their husbands need not divorce them. There is also confirmation that we do not pay attention to the Kohen's wife in the Rambam. In Hilchos Issues, chapter 24, paragraph 23, the Rambam states that when a Kohen's wife tells her husband that she was forcibly defiled or unwittingly had relations with another man, we do not pay any attention to her, for perhaps she was attracted to another man. And in paragraph 18, it states that if a woman tells her husband that she willingly committed adultery, we also do not pay any attention to her. Just as before, we suspect that she has become attracted to a different man other than her husband. If, however, her husband believes her, he is then obligated to divorce her, but still she loses the right to her ksuba since she admitted that she committed adultery. But the court only obligates a man to divorce his wife if two witnesses come forth and testify that the wife willingly committed adultery in their presence. In such a case, they can force him to divorce her. And in the matter of the woman who declares that her husband is impotent, the shulchon Oruch, HAEZER 154, paragraph 7 states that if the woman is demanding the ketubah, then she's certainly not believed. But the Ramah adds an astonishing note there, which says the following, that in today's times, we don't believe any woman who makes such a claim of impotence, since the women are all Chatzufos, meaning full of chutzpah or hubris. The Ramah seems to have anticipated the onset of proto-feminism here, and even coined a special name for its adherents, the Chatzufos. I want you to pay very close attention to these words of the Mishnah, Rambam, Shulchan Aruch, and Ramah. Already from 2,000 years ago and until today, the sages have long perceived a lack of credibility in the words of women who appear in Bezin and accuse them of having chutzpah. This is apparently a very old phenomenon, but the credibility of women today who make claim against the husbands to force him to divorce is so far gone that they cannot be believed at all unless they bring ironclad proof. All of this begs an obvious question. Why have today's rabbis been so busy empowering dishonest women to allow them to file frivolous claims of divorce? Why have they been assisting them in their nefarious schemes, ignoring the husband's opinion and ignoring the husband's right to the children and assets? The answer, my friends, is blowing in the wind, and that wind powers the windmill of this channel. The takeaway here is that our Jewish sages have clearly never believed in get on demand. On the contrary, they have gone to great lengths to prevent the frivolous breakup of marriages. Our sages have recognized that when a woman wants to get out of her marriage for a legitimate reason, one of the things they check for to see if her claim is reasonable is what kind of claim is she making of him. If she is sincere, she would do whatever it takes to convince the rabbis that she is sincere, and she would also do anything to appease her husband. But asking for such things as the ketubah, assets, and children is a sure sign that her motives are suspect. This is exactly what we are dealing with today. Unfortunately, these Chatzufos women maintaining their brazenness and seek to strip the husband of all their halachic rights. It is my opinion that in many of the cases today where a get is being refused or delayed, that it is the direct result of a Chatzufa woman's brazen acts. The only thing that a man can do in this situation is hold out and cling to the last vestige of hope that he has to save his family. But the corrupt Dayamin today ignore what the sages said about the women not being believed and assist them in their destructive path of divorce. And for this reason, I have been warning men on this channel to avoid going to a Bezdin today. So I repeat it out loud again. Say adios to the Chatzufos and leave the Bezdin in a tailspin. See my video number 15 entitled Why You Should Not Go to Bezdin for more details on this important subject. Instead of Bezdin, I recommend mediation as the only fair and logical way to navigate a breakup away from the purview of both the secular and Bezdin courts. Only after a mediate settlement is accomplished is the agreement submitted to the court to be incorporated into the final divorce judgment. Because trusting the rabbis of today is no different than trusting the mafia to deliver on their promises. So thank you for watching, and let me know what you think about today's video in the comment section below. And see you all in the next video.